Hello and welcome to my latest career video. Well, good news, I've got my new top 1000 plus ratings finished. I'm going to take the next few days having a good look at them, but they are finished. My god, that's been some work. Having to relist the entire 1000 plus fighters. But in the meantime, I wasn't going to do a video today due to that. I was going to chill out tonight, but I thought, I'll get a video done. So, this is, former Danish contender, Dick Nelson, who I regard as one of the great Danish fighters. Many people go battling Nelson. Yeah, he's a great shout-out for greatest Danish fighter, but very few people know Dick Nelson. So hopefully this video will highlight his career a little bit more. So let us start on his main opponents. So Dick Nelson fought the great George Dixon himself in one fight, fighting to a draw. He then gained a win over former undefeated featherweight champion, Young Corbett II. An excellent fighter, so that is a really, really good win. Next up was Valdemar Holdberg. Dick Nelson fought him on 5 occasions, scoring 4 wins with 1 loss and no draw. He also fought and defeated an older version of George Kid Levine, the former lightweight champion, in a singular fight. And then he also fought Aaron Brown, Dixie Kid, on 4 occasions. Dick Nelson scoring 1 win with 2 losses and 1 draw. Next up is the dangerous and experienced Tyree Lewis. Dick Nelson lost to him in a singular fight, and then he also fought a draw to former world champion Mike Glover. Next up was former coloured lightweight champion Bobby Dobbs, of course. Dick Nelson defeated him, and then he fought the great Leo Florian Hook in a singular fight, fighting to a draw. Dick Nelson then gained a win, over Jeff Smith, the great middleweight contender, in a singular fight, before fighting and losing to tough contender Rene DeVos. Next up is Billy Glover. Dick Nelson lost to him 3 times from 5 fights with 2 draws. He also fought to a draw in a singular fight against tough contender Willie Fitzgerald. Next up is Young Lowry, whose video is ready and will be coming over coming days. Dick Nelson fought a trilogy of fights against Young Lowry, scoring 1 win with 1 loss and 1 draw. And then to close out this first slide, Dick Nelson fought to a draw against Tommy Lowe. So good evening, Bruce. Good to see you, buddy. Hope you are well, as ever. Yeah, I've had a busy week and a half, Bruce, getting that new top 1000 ready. I'm going to spend some time looking at it now, seeing how it looks, before deciding if to use it. I hope I am going to use it after all work I put into it, but it has to meet my tough standards to be acceptable. So on to slide 2 for Dick Nelson. So Dick Nelson, fought Mickey Gannon in a trilogy of fights, scoring 1 win with 2 losses, no draws. He then also fought and defeated contender Unk Russell in a singular fight, also gaining a win against Kid Henry. Next up comes 2 fights against Paddy Levin, contender Paddy Levin. Dick Nelson fought 2 draws with him. He then fought and lost, to contender Young Otto, who was a good contender as well. Yeah, big shout out to Antonio Mosley and Martin Dunstan in the chat as well. Mike Glover I've added on twice. So David Kurtz, he fought him to a loss, and then he fought another very experienced fighter, Italian Joe Gans. He's a very, very experienced fighter. He has a really tough resume. Dick Nelson lost to him. Italian Joe Gans wasn't what I'd call a great fighter, but he was a well-travelled. When I use the term well-travelled, I mean he's fought all kinds of people from all kinds of divisions, and Italian Joe Gans certainly did that. He then also fought very good fighter Jack Goldswain on 2 occasions, scoring 1 win with 1 loss and no draw. And the final fight listed on here, Johnny Basham, he fought to a loss. So from there, there's 41 fights listed, 41 fights listed there, obviously I've put Mike Glover on twice. So from there, he had 14 wins, 16 losses and 11 draws, I'll say, with 2 Glover fights put on there. But yeah, still over 40 fights against major fighters. He also fought in a very tough era. There were tough fighters across all the divisions. Some divisions around this time were really tough. I am debating whether to actually do a research project that I did start once before. And I don't know if I'm going to do this. I don't know how I'll find them, but I used to find rankings because quarterly some papers, a bit like Ring Magazine, that actually rank the pre-rating era fighters across the divisions, that go through the main divisions and list the top 10s who were rated at that time. If I could start to gather them together, that could be the basis for creating pre-rating era rankings, because it's not something I'm creating, it's something that the people watching the fighters in the time are creating. So yeah, that'd be an interesting project. So from there, 41 fights. Okay, we will now go to his stat slides. Now, Dick Nelson, okay, scored 57 knockouts. He scored 21 knockouts in 3 rounds or less, and he scored 5 first-round KOs. Now, Dick Nelson scored 2 inside distance wins against champions. He scored none against Hall of Famers and none against pounders. Now, pre-rating era fighter, very limited experience fighting rated fighters. Due to that, he scored 0 knockouts against rated fighters. Now, in terms of rounds boxed, Dick Nelson had a large career, scored well over 100 wins himself. He fought 1,767 professional career rounds. He never had a world title fight, so those rounds are 0. Dick Nelson did fight 191 rounds against champions, 103 rounds against Hall of Famers, 138 rounds against pounders. He also fought a very limited number of 17 rounds against top 10 fighters, 7 rounds against top 3 fighters, and 0 rounds against ring champions. So, from Dick Nelson, we go on to the slide against champions. Now, Dick Nelson had 15 fights against champions. That record included 8 wins, 4 loss, and 3 draw. And he defeated 5 individual champions. They were Young Corbett II, Valdemar Holdberg, George Kid Levine, Dixie Kid, and Bobby Dobbs. So, Dick Nelson was one of those guys who would fight some of the best black fighters of his time. Obviously, didn't fight some of the other bigger names, like Barbados Walcott, etc. But still did fight some of the top black contenders, so all credit to him for that. He scored knockout or stoppage over one individual champion. That was Valdemar Holdberg, who I rate as possibly the worst welterweight champion of all time. Could be, possibly. But anyway, on to the slide against, that's an entire other debate. So on to the slide against Hall of Famers. Now, Dick Nelson had 11 fights against Hall of Famers, including 4 wins, 3 losses, 3 draws. He defeated 4 individual Hall of Famers, Young Corbett II, George Kid Levine, Dixie Kid, and the excellent Jeff Smith, but he scored 0 knockouts over Hall of Famers individually. That's a great idea, basing the ranking for pre-ranking era fighters based on the opinions of people who watched and recorded their opponents. I had a similar idea, but kind of tricky. Yeah, it is. It's going to require me to do a massive amount of in-depth digging everywhere to try and find those ratings. Then what I'd do, Antonio, is I'd create some files and then by year list the fighters across each division, and slowly over time as I research build them up. But say over 2 or 3 years, if I did get a lot of that stuff together, I could then work out pre-rating era rated opponents for Attell and Langford and Walcott and Gans and Johnson, all of them. That'd be quite amazing, considering that I could finish off Hadi Greb's only partial career of rated opponents. Jack Britton, Kid Lewis. Yeah, that'd be amazing, but it would be a big job. So there is the Hall of Fame slide. Okay, so when we go on to the pound for pound slide, we can see that he had 12 fights against pound for pounders, okay, including 5 wins, 3 losses and 4 draws. He beat 5 individual pound for pounders. They were Young Corbett II, George Kid Levine, Dixie Kid, Jeff Smith, and Bobby Dobbs, and he scored 0 knockouts over individual rated pound for pounders. So when we go on to his record against rated opponents as a pre-rating era fighter, he has very limited numbers here. He only has 2 fights against top 10 fighters, including 1 win, 1 loss and no draw. And obviously all the fighters on there, Smith, Glover, Kid Levine, Holdberg, all of those names, Dixon, all of them, they would all be rated fighters to varying degrees, so his number obviously would be larger. But, going on what I was saying about the pre-rating era rankings, I won't invent them, okay? Yeah, Bruce, I haven't actually seen the voting list. I saw a post come up about it the other day, and I were going to look to see if anybody had posted a copy. But yeah, I understand Golovkin and Vernon Forrest have been added to modern category for voting. And I think Willie Davis, the great flyweight fighter who fought masses of dozens and dozens of fights against rated opponents, he's been put into all-time category. But if I remember correctly, the all-time category has two lists and they rotate each year. So say this year it will be list A, next year it will be list B. I understand Willie Davis has been added to the voting category this year in the old-timer category. So yeah, we'll see what happens. We should know who's in by December. I'll just update all my rankings and files and everything, and we're all good. I update them every year as it happens. So anyway, yeah, I'm really getting knocked off course. So, but yeah, good point, Bruce. Yeah, but I've been meaning to actually double check on that. Actually, so he had one fight against top 3 fighter that was a defeat, and he has 0 fights against ring champions. Now, Dick Nelson defeated 1 individual rated fighter, of course, with 1 win. Scored knockouts over 0 individual rated fighters. Now, when we go on to his title record slide, there's not much to say there, okay, because Dick Nelson had 0 world title fights, therefore made no title defences, title fight KOs. Had 0 fights against rated fighters in title fights, and scored 0 wins, against champions, Hall of Famers and pounders in title fights. So when we go to his actual title fight slide, we also see that he captured no world titles, no lineal titles, and no undisputed titles. Sadly, like I pointed out in my top 1000 in video after video after video, and not only at the bottom of my top 1000, all the way through, every 100 going from 1200 has piles of fighters in who never even got a world title shot. Dick Nelson was one of them, but he is one of Denmark's great fighters, okay, you know, below fighters like Battling Nelson and others. Dick Nelson is certainly one of the fighters that Denmark produced that is one of their greatest, for sure. Not the greatest to me, I probably would have to give that to Battling Nelson, but certainly a great name in Danish boxing history. Not a big fan of Triple G, but worst fighters being inducted in past. Yeah. I always say though, Antonio, I think you'll probably agree with me. A lot of people, I'm not saying you're using this as an excuse here, but over years while I've been on YouTube, loads of people said to me, well, you know, this guy can go in because Arturo Gatti went in. And I always say to him, you probably have yourself, Antonio, that doesn't matter. Gatti shouldn't have got in. You know, you can't use the weak example as an excuse, because they always go to weak example. They never say, oh, I'm putting Golovkin in because Harry Greb's in, because I know it's a ridiculous comparison and stupid to even compare them. They never say, oh, I'm going to put Vernon Forrest in because Tommy Loughran's in, because again, the comparison of their careers is ridiculous and embarrassing. So, you know, they always go to what they consider the weaker ones. You know, I've long said that I don't think Vitaly Klitschko should be in Hall of Fame. The greatest fighter he fought with Lennox Lewis, he lost. Okay, and when you look at actually his wins, Herbie Hyde, Chris Adiola, Thomas Adamek, Derek Chisora, you know, Corey Sanders, you look at the wins he's got many good wins. Juan Carlos Gomez, the long-reigning cruiserweight champ. You look at his actual resume, but he doesn't have a great resume, Vitaly, at all. Okay, so, but I always find it funny that people always go to the, well, Gatti's in. Well, that doesn't say a lot to say. Steve Collins and Rocky Lockridge are also on the list. Yeah, you see me, I don't even think Steve Collins, even with the Ben and Eubank fights, I still don't think Steve Collins should be anywhere near Hall of Fame. He has a small resume, he's got those eye signature fights, and that's it. Yeah. I've long argued that, Bruce. I am not sure I'd put Ken Norton in Hall of Fame. Some people vote him in Hall of Fame because he won all 3 Muhammad Ali fights. Well, he didn't actually win all 3, he won 1. Okay, in fact, I don't know, it wasn't you, Bruce, it was me and 2 other guys. We did a live scoring, and then someone put the fight on it with our scoring on it, and we scored Ali Norton 3. And you know, everybody says, oh, Norton won that fight easy. No, he didn't. No, he didn't. If you think Norton won that fight easy, or Norton won that fight clearly, you really need to figure out what you're watching, because large amounts of that fight, Muhammad Ali was changing his tactics all the way through. He kept confusing Norton. I said a number of times, look, Ali's changed again, and Norton didn't know how to deal with it, because Ali kept mixing the fight up. And you know, when you watch it, Norton was not dominating that fight, but you know, you talk to some people now, oh, Norton easy won that fight, Norton should have easy. I'm like, go away. Bit like people who say Erislandy Lara won on points against Canelo. Why? Because he ran around ring for 12 rounds, refusing to engage, and then in last 20 seconds he'd come in and throw 2 or 3 shots. And that somehow after running round ring. You know, I counted him at one point running round ring non-stop for 40 seconds on outside at ring while Canelo were following him. You don't win any fights like that. Sorry. I don't care if you're coming at end up round and throw a 2-punch combination and saying, yep, that's a Lara round. No. But anyway, I'm babbling off. You know, I may have to do a live stream at some point just to discuss some general topics. I know I said I wasn't going to on this channel, but, you know, sometimes it would be good to have a live stream so I can just have a chat with you guys properly. But it would be boxing related. Yeah, I agree, Antonio, yeah. But that third Ali Norton fight, I did that live scoring on it, and I'm like, yeah. Everybody makes out Ali lost this fight. No, he didn't. Sorry, I refuse to believe that. I'll go on a live stream with anybody, right? You know, let's watch that fight on a live. Yeah, and we'll watch it live, and we can talk about it. Guarantee you, Times Norton can't even land a punch on him. It's just crazy. I wouldn't be surprised to see Danny Garcia get nominated, LOL. Yeah, I know. Anyway, guys, there's my latest video on Dick Nelson. I'm going to get off now. I'm going to have a little look now. Spent next hour just having a look at my new top 1,000 rankings. Yeah, I'll have a look at them, see how they look. But they are finished, and it'll mean a number of things. One, fighters who retire getting scored into it will be much quicker and easier. I've changed the top 1,000 ratings from being far too over complex to a set of achievements. Okay, so basically what I thought is, yeah, I've got these other ratings. Okay, and I've got these other ratings, and you know, the include over 130 criteria to score. But this new rating has way less than that, because I've changed it into, right, I'm not looking for an overall, I'm looking for a set of accomplishments across a career. And how many of those accomplishments have been met? Well, not accomplishments, just targets. I've set a number of targets. That's my criteria. And does this fighter matches target A, matches target B, don't match target C, don't match target D, don't match target E, matches target F? Some others will match all the first targets, and that builds the career score based on how they achieve those targets. But the things that everybody finds valuable about boxing careers, but there's quite a lot of them. And that's what the new ratings are based on. So, yeah. So anyway, I will leave it there. Big shout out to everyone in the chat. More videos. Videos will continue as normal now. I've been doing a bit less because I've been working on new top 1,000 rankings. But I scored the last 290 today. So I've worked hard today. So I wasn't going to do a video tonight originally. But there's Dick Nelson. He'll be scored into me current top 1,000 now, my new top 1,000 I was building, because I'm going to keep on running concurrently. But yeah, I'll be back soon with more videos. I'm the Boxing Librarian. I'm out for now.